All right, today's lesson we're going to be solving equations that have fractions in them. So we're going to be following all the same steps that we've previously followed for solving equations. All right, so if we have any fractions in the equations, we're going to multiply all the terms in the equation by the lowest common denominator. Then we're going to distribute if we have any parentheses, combine like terms if we have any like terms on either side of the equation. And we're going to get the variable on the same side by either adding or subtracting the variable from both sides of the equation. Then we're going to isolate the variable by adding or subtracting. And lastly, divide both sides by the number in front of our variable. All right, so this first equation, we've got 1 5/8 plus v equals 23 over 8. We take a look at the first step. It says if there's fractions, change the improper fractions, then multiply the equations by the LCD. So we've got here in this first example, we've got a mixed number, so we need to write that mixed number as an improper fraction. The way that we write mixed numbers as improper fractions, we take the whole number in the front of the mixed number, multiply that by the denominator, and then we add the numerator. Also, if the whole number in front of at the front of the mixed number, if it is negative, you go ahead and just ignore the negative until you're done changing it to an improper fraction. All right, so we have 1 times 8, which is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. So 1 5/8 as an improper fraction is 13 over 8. Then still the first step, we've got some fractions in here, so we need to multiply the entire equation by the lowest common denominator. We only have one denominator, 8, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation, all the terms, by 8. We multiply 8 times 13 over 8. The 8's will cancel. Same thing will happen when we multiply the 23 over 8 by 8. So 8 times 13 over 8 will give us 13. 8 times v is 8v. 23 over 8 times 8 is 23. Next step, we don't have anything to distribute. We don't have any like terms to combine. So we want to now isolate the term that has our variable in it by adding or subtracting. Right now we are adding 13 to that 8v term. So we want to subtract 13 from both sides. When I subtract 13 from both sides, I will just have 8v left on the left side. And then 23 minus 13 is 20. No, it's not. 23 minus 13 is actually 10. So let's back that up. (23 minus 13 should be 10. Alright, and then we divide both sides by 8. (8v) divided by 8 is just v. 10 over 8. All right, so 10 over 8. And then that can be simplified. 2 divides evenly into 10 and into 8. So when we divide 2 into 10, we get 5. We divide 2 into 8, we get 4. So that is our answer. 5 over 4 is our answer. All right, next, again, we have a mixed number in our next problem. So we want to change that mixed number to an improper fraction. Again, like I stated in the previous example, you want to ignore the negative in front of the mixed number until you're done changing it to an improper fraction. So we have positive 2 times 10, which is 20. 20 plus 3 is 23. So that number written as an improper fraction is negative 23 over 10. All right, so now we want to determine what the lowest common denominator is. The two denominators are 10 and 40. The lowest common multiple of 10 and 40 is 40. So that is our lowest common denominator. So we're going to multiply all the terms by 40. When I multiply the first terms by 40, 40 and 10, they cancel. 10 goes into 10 one time, 10 goes into 40 4 times. That leaves us with 4 times negative 23. 40 times n is 40n. And when we multiply 40 times negative 167 over 40, the 40s will cancel, leaving us with just negative 167. All right, so now we want to multiply 4 times negative 23, which is negative 92. And then I want to isolate the term that has my variable in it by adding 92 to both sides. When I add 92 to both sides, I get 40n equals negative 75. And then lastly, divide both sides by the number in front of your variable, which is 40. When we do that, we get n equals negative 75 over 40. And 5 divides into both of those numbers. So when we divide 5 into negative 75, we get negative 15. 5 into 40 gives us 8. All right. Next example. We've got another mixed number that we need to change to an improper fraction. 4 1/4 as an improper fraction is 4 times 4, which is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. So negative 4 1/4 as an improper fraction is negative 17 over 4. Again, we need to find out what our lowest common denominator is. Our two denominators are 28 and 4. The lowest common multiple of 28 and 4 is 28. So that's our lowest common denominator. We're going to multiply everything by 28. When I multiply that first term by 28, the 28s will cancel, leaving me with negative 163. 28 times a is 28a. And then when I multiply that last term by 28, 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 28 7 times. So that leaves me with negative 7 times 17. Go ahead and multiply negative 7 times 17, and we get negative 119. And we add 19 to both sides to isolate the term with our variable. Negative 163 plus 119 is negative 44. And then last step, divide both sides by the number in front of our variable, 28. And we get negative a equals negative 44 over 28. And we know that at least 2 will divide into both of those numbers since they're both even. The biggest number that will divide into both is 4 though. Negative 44 divided by 4 gives us negative 11. And then 28 divided by 4 is 7. Last example. We do not have any mixed numbers in this last example, so we can skip the first step. There's nothing to distribute. There are no like terms. So actually, we do want to do the first step because we do have fractions. So the lowest common denominator is 10. That's the only denominator in this problem. So we're going to multiply all the terms by 10. When we do that, we'll get 10k for the first term. And then the 10s will cancel in the second term and the third term. 10 times negative 27 over 10 is just negative 27. 10 times 33 over 10 is just 33. Now I want to isolate the term with our variable by adding 27 to both sides. 10k is going to equal 60. Last step is to divide both sides by the number in front of our variable. 60 divided by 10 is 6.